Hi there everybody, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Idris Watts and I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner, and today I wanted just to share with you some foundational concepts around somatic work and to highlight the benefits of this work, which I've found incredibly beneficial for me in my own life and in the life of people who I have helped in my profession. So when we're talking about somatic work, we're fundamentally speaking about the body. That's what somatic means. And we're focusing on sensations in the body. Why is that important? Well, if you think, and this is probably an oversimplification, but it's a helpful map, is that we mainly experience ourselves, others, and the world through either thoughts, feelings, and sensations. So when we say thoughts, for example, say it's a really hot day, I might think it's really hot, or I might think, what am I doing here? Or I might have a belief around that. I might say, I can't, I'm not someone who can deal with hot weather. So that's the realm of the cognition, where, and that's how most of us relate to the world. We live in the world of cognition and thoughts and beliefs. Then the feelings might be around that, if it's a really hot day. I'm really frustrated and irritable, so there's a feeling or an emotion, and later on I'll be going into how I distinguish between emotions and feelings. And then there may also be sensations, and when we say sensations, it may be I'm feeling prickly, my skin is feeling prickly, I'm fidgeting, and that's more behavior, that's not a sensation, but it's brought about by sensations. I'm feeling flustered, and I'm feeling heat rising in my face, and so forth. So this is what I mean by sensations, which we identify with less than thoughts and feelings and emotions. Because if you think, for example, if someone meets me in a day, they may ask me, what am I thinking about? So there's thoughts. They may ask me, what are you feeling? Or how are you feeling? There's feelings and emotions. But rarely does someone say to you, what are you feeling in your body or experiencing in your body right now? But that's an incredibly important question when it comes to healing. Why? Because if we think about it from a developmental perspective, our foundational way that we experience ourselves and the world around us is through sensations. Because when we were babies in the wombs of our mothers, we weren't having any thoughts. The frontal part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, was not online. It wasn't developed yet. And we weren't thinking when we were in there, well, I wonder what's going on out there. I'm not really enjoying this. In terms of cognition, it wasn't online. A tougher question is, were we having feelings and emotions? And that stumped me for a while. And my understanding of it is that, yes, we were experiencing emotions in the womb, maybe. Like, for example, rage, primitive emotions, or bliss, like urges. But if we were to ask, were you experiencing sensations in the body, we can categorically say yes, or you'll be dead. I.e. heat, lightness or heaviness, flow, stillness, etc., etc. So the primary way that we experience ourselves and the world around us is actually through sensations. When we become a toddler, Then we start to live in the world more of emotions, and our caregivers, mums and dads and elders, they're the ones that help us regulate those emotions. So we may, if we get really upset, breathe, take your time, there. We're trying to regulate the emotions and help the infant who is struggling incredibly with these extreme experiences, trying to help them almost manage them or be with them and move through them. Then when we move into maybe 4, 5, then the cognition becomes, we start to experience cognition more, where the child may be asking, why, daddy, why this, why that, and really trying to understand. So you'll see that there's a hierarchical structure to these 3 experiences of ourselves and the world around us. And the other 2 come online afterwards. Why is that important? Because if we're going to do healing, a lot of that healing we find goes back to very early years, where we were stunted, or there was a rupture in us, our sense of self. That's what we find. A lot of things we actually struggle with in our adult life, they actually stem. We will discover when we start doing some inquiry and sitting with someone who's a healer, or a professional mental health practitioner, that a lot of this stuff stems from very early on. That's what I discovered anyway in my experience. And a lot of that, those struggles were when we were more in the realm of either emotions or sensations. So in order for us to really be able to go back and repair that work and enable us to grow more and develop and thrive and feel like we can engage with things in a mature fashion, it requires we go back to those times when we were more in emotions and we were more in sensations. So when we look at sensations, they're like the letters, and the feelings are like the words, and the thoughts are like the sentence. So if I said to you, I'm unlovable, we could try to address that cognitively. Why do you think you're unlovable? What is it that makes you feel that? And is that really that someone doesn't love you, or rather they're struggling to understand, etc., etc.? That's addressing it cognitively. And if we then were to go to emotions, which are the words, then we would explore, how's that feel for you? What comes up for you when you believe that? And then sensations would be, as you say that, what are you feeling? What's your experience of that? And there's a tightness in the chest. There's a feeling of hopelessness, and that feeling of hopelessness brings this heaviness. And that heaviness, I can feel it in my shoulders. Now, why is that so important? Because it's far more effective for us to address the construction of that sentence, I feel unlovable, rather than us to try to sort of recreate the whole structure and address the whole structure as it is. When we break down the letters, they actually can restructure themselves into I am lovable. And so that's the profound thing about sensations. What else would we say about sensations is that thoughts and feelings can be very confusing and very deceptive. We can often feel that we are okay when it comes to feelings. We can almost convince ourselves we're okay with our thoughts. However, when it comes to our sensations don't lie. So what do I mean by that? Sensations don't lie. Because I could feel that I'm okay, but I could be just cut off from my emotions. I could think that everything's okay. Up here everything feels all right. But if there's tension in my stomach, if my sleep is all over the place, and I don't feel refreshed, I feel fatigued, if I'm struggling with pain in the back, that's telling me that something's not right. And I can't kid myself there. So I find that so effective that we sit with our sensations and we try to explore them. And by doing so, we find out, are we okay or aren't we okay? But as for emotions and thoughts, sometimes, we can kid ourselves and think that we are okay when we're actually not. So we're starting from the very foundations of our experience, which I find very profound. It's like how we understand, fundamentally connect to ourselves and the world around us. This is why somatic work is so profound, so powerful and so effective in my experience. And what we know about somatics as well is that when we address it, we're addressing the issue from a bottom-up approach. What I mean by that is sensations, then feelings and thoughts. And that doesn't mean that we're dismissing thoughts and feelings. It means that whilst we're addressing thoughts and feelings, we're also addressing the somatic experience of it. That's really important, that we're not just trying to keep people in their bodies. And sometimes people don't feel safe to start in their bodies. They sometimes can't even feel their bodies. So sometimes we start with cognition, but we're always trying to see if we can bring attention to our experience as we sort of relate to something cognitively or relate to something emotionally. Can we gently, and it has to be, you can't force this, I'm going to force myself to experience my body, it won't work. We have to see what is available as we touch into that experience cognitively or emotionally or whatever way we were able to initially relate to something. At some point we want to see, is there a somatic element to that available? And this is really important, because if we can do that from a bottom approach, we realise from neurobiology that 80% of the feedback's actually bottom up and 20% top bottom. So all the neural connections and the neurofeedback is 80% from the bottom to the top, 20% bottom down. And that's quite obvious to us, is that when I'm trying to convince myself that I'm okay cognitively, I'm gonna feel great today, but then our body feeds back to us and says, no, you don't feel great today. And no amount of talking is actually going to change that. It's going to be very difficult anyway. You might be able to short-term sort of make yourself feel better by talking yourself out of something, but always the bodily experience comes back to bite us when we're not feeling good. And so it's really important that we address our experience, and that has a much more effective way for us to actually shift our cognition. So that's why somatics are so. That's a little introduction, and there's much more to that. But I hope that gives you an appreciation of the importance of somatics. So, what's the takeaway here is to ask yourself randomly through the day, what are you noticing in your body, and just to educate yourself around that. So what I'll do is I'll put a chart at the end of this video, and you can see a list of different sensations, and just learning to almost educate yourself around the language of sensations, because that's really the reality of it, is that it's like a language, sensations, and if we're not well versed in that language initially, we will struggle to identify with it, but very quickly, as we learn to familiarize ourselves with sensations, you'll see quickly a very profound experience of learning to deal better with uncomfortable sensations by naming them, because we, as Dr. Daniel Siegel says, you name it to tame it. And also to feel more pleasure in your life from a physiological level, and that brings about a lot more almost comfort, ease, and the ability to manage life a lot better. So ask yourself through the day, just learning to sit there and identify. So for example, at this moment I can feel my feet connected to the floor, and I can feel the carpet, and my soles, I can feel the softness of the carpet, and I'm just going to spend 10 seconds just to notice that softness. Yeah, and there's an element of heaviness to my feet connected to the carpet. I can feel that. And there's a warmth, and I feel, where do I feel that warmth most? I'd say, I'm not fully sure, but it seems more in the middles, like the middles of my soles of my feet. Yeah, and as I connect to the feet, I felt a little bit of a breath rise and then fall, which is that almost, it's a relieving breath that came up automatically. And when I do that, that's actually a reset. That's your body trying to reset and down regulate, almost let go. And that's really important to almost notice those things, whether it be a breath, or it be a yawn, whether it be a sneeze, whether it be sort of a bit of sweat, whether it be just a muscle tone just seems to open a bit more. And it could be manifest in terms of your thoughts, your head just becoming a bit more rested, the thoughts are less active. So there you go, that's a little bit exercise there, noticing, and we call these the anchors, like these points of contact, feet and your bottom and your thighs and your back, because they're usually where you feel held by something and you feel supported, and you feel you can almost let go. It's safe to let go and your body just almost sinks down. So what I invite you to do is just to practice that, not as some ritual exercise, but just everything, so when it feels appropriate, just to feel almost that you can give yourself these pockets in the day where you feel like you can just see where you're at, just like you check your phone, the battery life, just seeing where you're at in terms of your body. So there you go. Thank you very much, and I look forward to speaking to you in another video in the near future. Take care. Assalamu alaikum to everybody.